tremendous acceleration in the human development of human society due to the coronavirus, that there is a tremendous amount of people that are unemployed now, and actually they don't have to go back to work. Really, businesses that are unnecessary, they work and will work. But those that are necessary, but all the services that we have created around this, completely unnecessary, maybe 5% of it. So those people, there will be no need for them to go back to their jobs. There will be no need for these kinds of jobs. And the main population, the main part of society that are engaged in these kinds of services will remain workless. And so here we have to think, what do we do about these people that find themselves with unnecessary professions? One of the aspects, result of what's going to happen with these people that are going to be unemployed, we're not ready for this yet. One of the byproducts is man's health. So this is what we like to look things. This is the perspective from which we'd like to look at things on future shows, but it's all interconnected. It's all interconnected. Why? Because everything depends on the connection, the relations between people. It's possible to show this in several examples. First of all, in society, there are two forms of influence on man. It's the unconscious or indirect influence, like pollution, different genetic experiments done on animals that we eat later, and so on and so forth. Vegetables, this of course influences us. Today talked about the oil tankers spilling their oil into the oceans because it's cheaper, because no one's buying the oil. It's an indirect result, indirect influence over us. And the second one is a direct influence, the mass media, different economic circumstances, and social norms. In the past, there were norms like, in the past, when a person was chubby, it was considered, people appreciated it. He was considered to be wealthy. Now, in most cases, does it depend on society or genetics? I'd say both. The main part is genetics, undoubtedly. But we have to necessarily think about what kind of environmental conditions do we give a person. In the same conditions, under the same conditions, there are people that, can take it pretty well, and others that die. Yeah, it says that 10% depends on health, 20% depends on hereditary factors, 20% the environment, also depends on people, and 50% is determined by a person's lifestyle. And a person's lifestyle is also determined by the media, mass media, what historic period is a person living in. In short, we can say that 80% depends on society. As a result of the interactions between people depends a person's life expectancy, quality. The question is, modern medicine doesn't cure, but extends a person's ability to have, to live an incorrect lifestyle. People, they want for the government to take care of them. Is this correct? A correct approach? It's all wrong. Medicine, the government, our lifestyle, it's all wrong. It's all based on a very incorrect foundation. unknowing who we are and the extent of nature that we live in, the realm of nature that we live in, and therefore the attitude toward nature and toward man is incorrect. Not even mentioning medicine, science, and all the rest of the things that we're engaged in. We simply have to change all of these things. We have to change the very foundation of our attitude toward life. Our attitude is egoistic, distorted, and we can't do anything about it. What you have to correct is man. Then, when his attitude toward the world, toward everything will change, then he himself will change. He'll work where he has to and no more. He'll do what he has to do and no more. He'll relate to nature as does any other kind of animal, taking what's necessary for his existence and no more, not robbing or destroying the environment. And this way he will exist in a very good, pleasant realm. He won't dump oil into the oceans from tankers, burn forests. It all has to change very quickly. Otherwise we'll have nothing left. So it's a complex approach. The complex approach has to do with a person's education. Scientists consider that up to 40% of the reason for different illnesses aren't viruses or physical things, but mental stress. We said that millions of people are sitting at home nowadays, unemployed, and not necessarily unemployed, but they're at home, and the stress is tremendous. Is this how you see things? I think that we have to correct man. Well, it doesn't matter to count things one way or another, to calculate it like this or like that. A person has to understand that he's living in an integral environment, inside this kind of sphere. And the still vegetative anode, and especially human nature, is influencing him, and he has to be in homostasis with them. He has to be balanced with them. And he doesn't wanna. He wants to receive everything from the surrounding world, not giving anything in return, or at least whatever he's demanded to give. And it's a problem. Today, the circumstances are such that will force us to do something, because only 10% of the population has to work in order to give everything, in order to provide us with our basic needs. I emphasize this. And the rest of the 90%, you have to feed them, you have to take care of them, but they don't have to work. They don't have to extract different raw materials from the earth, natural resources. They have to work on their interactions, relations, make them better, kinder, friendlier, and so on. They have to educate themselves and educate others. And then we'll get a harmonious society. What does it mean that a person has to give? In a state of homeostasis, a person receives and also has to give. Give what? A good participation, participating willingly in a good and nice way. Were there ever such periods in history? No. Maybe some ancient societies. You can still find that too, in Africa, Polynesia, places like that. But it's not a social structure, it's not a society. It's a small commune that lives in some village maybe. There are such, of course. Go to Indonesia, somewhere there in the islands, you'll see. Everyone knows that two main illnesses that kill millions are cancer and heart disease. If nothing happens before, then it'll probably be one of these. Does it have to do with our egocentric attitude toward the world? Of course, only our egocentric attitude toward the world, to consume everything, to position ourselves as superior to others. This consumes our organism. This breaches the balance, the homostasis of our organism that causes cancer. The heart receives blood, gives blood, works as a pump, and half the population have heart disease. Is it related to this somehow? Of course. Let a person live in a normal, comfortable way that he'll know what is he living for. What does he have to work so many hours a day? To work 8 hours and a few more hours to spend in traffic. The kids at home are shouting, TV. He's in constant stress. And in relation to those people that enjoy, usually a person, he is very weak, and we're forcing him to be a macho. Yeah, but again, we're going back to some kind of closed cycle. What am I supposed to go to? Back to I as a person. Can I not go to work? Who's going to pay me? The government isn't going to pay me anything. How will people live if only 10% of the population are going to work? Tell me. 90% of the population there's nothing for them to do. After the war years, about from the 1950s, we started developing technology. And somewhere from the 70s, technology started developing so much so that practically there was no need for additional manpower, working hands. Were it not for the weapons race, then we would have been in a tremendous crisis long ago. I think many would agree. The thing is that the way governments are built nowadays is that it doesn't allow people to work. There will be. Wait a second. The virus now. Half the population were forced to sit at home. Many of them still are at home. What are you going to do if they will have to continue sitting at home? That's the problem. People are starting to feel stress. Then deal with the stress. Why do you have to create additional work for them? No one will come and buy these whatever they sell at their small parlors or different other businesses. That's gone. What are you going to do with that population? It's a vast part of the population. Where's the real industry? In Russia, somewhere, in the Ural, in the United States, also somewhere in Middle America. Everything else, they just serve each other. There'll be no need for this. What they'll exercise, go to the movies. They won't go to the movies and won't do sports either. It's enough to exercise a bit at home. I'm telling you, this is how things are going to be. How many people really exercise? Go out and exercise. I'm foreseeing a tremendous problem. Governments will have to print money and to feed 90% of the unemployed. And there's nothing bad about it. Nothing bad about it. Let's just think. How did they make their living? By serving each other, giving each other services. It's hard to imagine that someone is going to give me a certain amount of money. That's already frightening. It wasn't that way. I made how much I could. And that was called your job, right? There was this illusion that you're making something, some kind of product. I made money. I made how much I could, according to my abilities, my skills. And thanks to this money, I could buy different pleasures. Now you're saying you'll be given something to meet your basic needs, just so you won't die? No, it's not so you won't die. You'll get what you need for a normal life, and so will everyone else. There's not going to be any other way out. Well, if it's a critical situation, it's not a critical situation. It's the next level of our development. Like now, we see that there is going to be a tremendous amount of people that are going to get some kind of basic income, let's call it. And there will be those that are going to work, and between them there is going to be some kind of difference, or maybe even not. The thing is that still society will come to a point where it will give man money in order for him to exist, to be able to live his life. And accordingly, someone will make meat, milk, bread, I don't know what, and someone else will work on rebuilding society, educating and teaching, and arranging a new society. So let's imagine that this is the society that we're living in, and let's go back to our topic, health. Well, you as an athlete, you're considered with health, this I understand. People will be healthy, don't worry. People will exercise in the morning, they'll go swimming, other kinds of sport. I'm sure that all of these things will exist, but to the measure to which it will be healthy, and not for sports as a sport. A question from our viewers. The viruses nowadays are the most dangerous, pose the greatest danger to man. In the past, it was, different kind of predators, animals. Today, viruses that consider of DNA, RNA, that behave as intelligent beings. Why can't medicine deal with them, with viruses? Why do viruses immediately adapt to different kinds of medicine? I think that viruses are man's friend. Furthermore, viruses are friends of society that are affecting us in order to force us to change man, to change society. And therefore, I don't think that we should see viruses as our enemies. We have to see them as a helper, not very pleasant, threatening, but were we to learn what our virus is leading us to, then we wouldn't have allowed viruses to appear in us as disease. We'd simply adapt to that, to the changes that the virus is supposed to make in society. There are millions of kinds of viruses, part of which are friendly, man's friend. They're good for our organism. And at a certain point, these viruses can become harmful. The mechanism itself, what does it depend on? Man? Unless man seriously changes himself and stops or starts dealing with those problems through which nature is reminding us that we have to change. Look what we're doing with the world. During these 2 months when we were at home, look, birds started singing, animals started appearing in parks, everything started to thrive and flourish, the ozone layer started repairing itself. You want for this to go away again? Meaning through our egoistic attitude toward each other, not only toward each other, also our industrial attitude toward the world. Right. By this we awaken certain forces in nature and it starts evening us out, balancing us out. Yeah? What do you think? Can there be such a virus where a bad attitude toward others will awaken some kind of virus or disease, since we'll immediately feel it as something hazardous to our health? Nature wants for us to intelligently relate as mature adults toward what we're doing, toward the changes that we're making in nature. I think that it's something that we don't need. Nature wants for us to change ourselves, and by this to change our surrounding planet, the planet that's surrounding, first to understand that we're living in a closed realm and we have to protect it. Then we'll really feel that we're bosses over our destiny. Look, I'm afraid of infecting other people. Why? Because later they can infect my relatives, my family. Whether I like it or not, I have to care for the health of the people, of other people. Well, this is you, but mostly people walk around in these masks and gloves because they don't want to catch something, not because they don't want to infect others. So it doesn't have to be that open yet, because otherwise a person won't have freedom of choice, meaning he infected someone and immediately got ill. He thought poorly of someone and immediately something happens to him. Right, because then we'd remain animals, we'd have no freedom of choice. Why is it not enough to simply be in harmony with society and nature in order to be healthy? Why do I also have to care for, live a healthy lifestyle, eat properly and so on? Who's gonna sustain this entire physiological system if not you? To be in harmony with nature. No, I have to also take care of my body. You're a biological machine, so you also have to biologically sustain homostasis with nature. Yeah, but everything is a result of my psyche, my desires, my thoughts. So work on your psychology and your desires so that automatically you will have a correct relationship with nature, that you'll be balanced with it. And when I achieve this, for this you have to feel the surrounding world as a system, as a global system that you live in, and that you have an interaction with it. And then I won't have to exercise and so on. You won't need nothing. As a result of your different traits and qualities, you will do different kinds of exercises, you'll live a certain lifestyle, like animals. 10 short questions. What's the healthiest kind of food?
оптимальное по количеству?
The food that is optimum in its quantity. What's the best thing a person can do for his health, to feel happy? Can you cure or prevent illnesses through humor? Partially. Is it possible to get rid of different addictions, drugs, alcohol, other things, only with the help of the correct environment? Why so many kinds of illnesses? Because a person is a multifaceted, diverse being. Unsatisfied desires, can they cause stress, illnesses? Yes. Would it be true to say that a healthy mind and a healthy body, and vice versa? In the future, when we'll live in harmony with nature, what will people die from? People won't die. They'll feel that they exist eternally if we will really reach harmony with nature. Can we assume that all of us, 9 billion people, are viruses of a higher kind of quality? We're not viruses, we're a part of a tremendous giant system called creation. If I think less about myself and think more about others, is it possible to prevent illnesses this way? Everything completely. Thank you very much. Medicine and health. Till next time. All the best.